Call the meeting order for the Board of Mayor on Monday, December 12th. This time is Reverend Clark. Is Reverend Clark here this evening? Reverend Clark is not here. Would our fire chief be willing to lead us in a prayer and lead us in a pledge? Please stand.
Please bow. Good Lord, thank you for this day and the blessings that we have within our lives. We appreciate these board members and the mayor working within the city, trying to make everything better for our community. Be with the first responders, the police, and all the other workers within the city to help them continue to do a great job and continue to service this community as servants that we are. In this, I pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd see the recorder to call the roll, please.
Sure. Mayor Noes.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Mathis.
Here.
Alderperson Almacher. Here. Barry.
Here.
Glick.
Here.
Wilson. Present. 6 present.
We have 6 present. At this time, we will have a presentation from Lyle Russell and Jeff Dameron regarding our major Wildcats and Friends Baseball Clinic.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to come up and talk to you about this event. So 1 month ago today, actually, it was about 34 degrees outside on a Saturday, and we held an event at Wagner Park that 170 registered for, but we're pretty sure the cold kept about 40 of them away. So 130 actually came, and this event was a little bit extraordinary in the fact that we had 9 former and current professional baseball players that came to do a totally free event for our Tullahoma youth and the surrounding areas. We had children that registered from as far away as Woodbury, Lynchburg, Fayetteville, some even as far as, I believe is it Giles County, I believe is the next one over. So we had people that drove a pretty long way to come to this event. And it was cold. My grandson did not make it through. He came up to me about halfway through and said, "I can't feel my feet anymore." And for him to leave a baseball event early is an extraordinary feat, if that tells you how cold it was. But this event was extraordinary in a few different ways. First, to be able to pull that group for a one-day event here that was free for all the kids that wanted to come to it was a pretty big deal. To give you a comparison, our Parks and Rec conference was in Gatlinburg a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about this event at a couple of different places. One of them was the Cal Ripken Experience, which is a pretty large baseball facility in Gatlinburg. The manager there told us that they usually get 3 or 4 players a year that will come through there and visit with their kids. That's per year. We had 9 in one day, 8 of them that graduated here from Tullahoma High School. And so we were very grateful for that opportunity for them to come back and for them to give back to the community that they came from. I would be remiss not to thank 2 very specific people, Jeff Dameron and Travis Sheffield, for the amount of work and logistics and behind the scenes things that they did to pull that event together. To be able to provide that event for the baseball youth of Tullahoma was a pretty big deal. And interestingly enough, after the event, we had a dinner for the players. We had one of the players that came all the way from Florida, my hometown in Tampa. And, we figured because of the logistics of this, that this was going to be a one-off event. Every single one of them asked if it was going to be on the same date next year. So we're in the process of making this an annual event, and a lot of the players said that they intend to bring some others with them. Now, we don't know what that means yet, but I think that that's a pretty big testament to their willingness to want to give back to our community and to our kids. So wanted to make sure that you were aware of that event. And they also told us, which you'll see in front of you there, you have a couple of items that I brought earlier. All the kids got a T-shirt and a signed baseball from all 9 players, and they gave us some extra ones and wanted to make sure that everyone who was involved in making this event happen make sure that they got one. And so all of y'all, indirectly or directly, came to that event, helped with our, the funding of things, helping align sponsors and that sort of thing. So in our appreciation, we wanted to make sure that each one of you got a signed baseball from them. There's also a program in there, and an uncut sheet of our baseball cards for the event is in there too. So that was on their behest. They wanted to make sure that y'all knew that they appreciated the opportunity to come back. So thank you.
Now, Russell, we want to thank you for what you've done, so we always give you a big hand.
I'd like to give it, Mayor.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Please.
I'd like to give a special shout out. I see his wife in the audience, but as well to Mr. Dameron that helped you put this on, to the Dameron family and his wife. I know that they worked really hard on this as well, and I didn't want to leave him out. I know he's not here tonight, so special thank you to Lyle and Jeff Dameron.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Great event. We come to the point in the program now that we want to get comments from citizens, and we're going to take that time first to thank all of the people who are here who have responded to the signing up to participate in the Tullahoma Plan Development Committee. I want to give each of you a couple of minutes, about 2 minutes will probably give you life's history in that length of time. But as I call you up, give you 2 minutes, and I'll call the, just in the order that I have them, Elizabeth Bowling.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Elizabeth Bowling, and I submitted my citizen participation form because I believe I have some experience and knowledge that would be beneficial as a member of the committee. I was born in Tullahoma. I attended Bel Air Elementary, West Middle, and Tullahoma High School. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree with a major in mathematics and a business minor. And after graduating from law school, I chose to return to Tullahoma to begin my professional career. I've been a licensed attorney in the state of Tennessee for the past 22 years. During this time, I've worked in the areas of real estate and property law. I've done title work. I've worked with property assessors, tax assessors, planning and codes, and zoning departments across Middle Tennessee. I've also worked in commercial development for developing branch offices around Middle Tennessee, and also on commercial developments in Nashville and in Grundy County. I've been involved in regulatory compliance, both as the regulated and the regulator. I have written rules and code that have been passed and enacted and passed in the state. I've served on numerous strategic planning committees in both the public and the private sector, and I understand the impact of public policy and government decisions. In the community area, I am currently the vice president of the board of directors for Blue Monarch, where I've served for the past 10 years. I'm a past board member of the Tullahoma Chamber of Commerce, the American Red Cross Heart of Middle Tennessee chapter, and Keep Coffee County Beautiful. I'm a longtime supporter of the Art Center and also of South Jackson. I'm a past Tullahoma Middle School girls soccer assistant coach and a U16 travel coach for Camp Florist. I also served as an indoor coach. I'm a member of the Tullahoma chapter of NSDAR and of Grace Baptist Church. So I think perfect timing. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Bowling. Nancy Cheney. Ms. Cheney.
Thank you for what you do, all of you. And I would like to say that I have a Bachelor of Psychology degree from the University of Tennessee from back in the 70s. I moved to Tullahoma when I was 1.5 years and have lived here my entire life except for when I was away for college myself with my husband. However, I've traveled a lot with him with his work, and so I've seen a lot of communities and the way they've developed, and always happy to come back to Tullahoma because it's easy to get around, easy to find everything, and just kind of want to keep it on a even keel like that. So that's my interest in being on this committee, is to just give recommendations to facilitate easy turns, traffic lights, where extra housing may go. My daughter's in real estate, and we also have a company that flips houses, so we have an interest in real estate and how things flow around the community. So I've done, most of you know, I started the Girls Junior Pro basketball program, worked in AAU, done coaching, all kinds of coaching, all through my children's lives here. And I just feel like that since I'm 71 now, I have a lot of experience being in Tullahoma and can bring that experience and that common sense to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Janie. Janie Colley. Ms. Colley.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Jane Colley. I reside at 201 Yorktown Drive here in Tullahoma. My family and I moved to Tullahoma in July of 1994. I accepted a transfer with Walmart stores to come here and be the store manager during the building construction and opening of the Super Center out on North Jackson Street. We have 2 adult children. We have spouses that belong with those children and grandchildren who are also very fortunate family. John and I are very fortunate in that our children have been able to come back to Tullahoma, live in Tullahoma and surrounding areas, and our grandchildren are enrolled in the Tullahoma City School System. I share personal information with you like that because I think it's important for you to understand my motives. Yes, they are personal in regards to my family, my whole closest family, all lives close by here, but also because I am a civic-minded person. I recently retired after 24 years with National Healthcare Corporation. I served in various leadership roles. I opened the assisted living over on Wilson Avenue as the director in 1999. And most recently, I served as the administrator at NHC Healthcare on Cedar Lane, retired in August after opening that center as the administrator in 2013. Various other leadership roles in the community. I am a past president of the Tullahoma Chamber of Commerce. I'm a past president of the Tullahoma Noon Rotary Club. I'm even a past member of the Tullahoma Planning Commission and served as their chairperson as well. I was appointed in the early 2000s by then Mayor Lane Curley. So the Plan Development Committee is of great interest to me because I've spent a lot of time in planning and leading and directing, and I feel like the decisions that this committee is going to make, Planning Commission, the board, economics, environment, housing, employment, infrastructure, budget, economics, they're all very, very important, and
Thank you,
I would
Ms.
like to
Colley.
participate.
Your time is up, so
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your participation. At this time, Misty Dameron. Ms. Dameron.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm Misty Dameron. Yes, my husband is Jeff, but if you know me, I'm probably as opinionated of my own opinion. And as I went and I looked at all of the data with this committee, I thought, do I really want to be a part of this? Because all of the information you saw, it says, well, it's all about someone else's opinion, someone driving someone else's opinion. So you all have my application. You see all of the things that I do, all I've done. And if you don't, I'm happy to get you a copy of that. But I kind of want to tell you why I am and where I am and why I want to be a part of it myself. I didn't tell my husband that I even applied for this committee until after I applied to the committee because I didn't want any opinions, pretty much. So with that being said, I was born and raised in Tullahoma. I said I'm leaving and I am never coming back. And then I didn't want to raise children anywhere else because I had been a Head Start Davidson Academy graduate, went to East Lincoln, went to East Middle, went to Tullahoma High School, and I was going to put it in my rearview mirror. And then I didn't want to raise my children anywhere else. I came back and I ended up in corporate dentistry, and I opened the Aspen Dental here. And one of my proudest moments were whenever our committees would come in, whenever our investors would come in, whenever anyone, our doctors would come into the city, I would get to be the one to tell them about our part of the world. And to see the growth from where it was when I was a child to where it was now as an adult, and that I could brag about my part of the world, what kind of person would I be if I didn't want to contribute to that growth? Who wants to be a part of something that they don't answer the call to action? If I don't do it, then someone else is going to do it. And I know that Tullahoma is at the heart of my interest because, like I said, I was never coming back. But to see the growth and to know all of the things that I've done, I was a part of I felt like I ran out of paper whenever you're telling about yourself. And I'm not good about bragging about myself, but I am good about telling others how I love Tullahoma and the growth for what we are able to do and accomplish, and have that even platform for residential, for business, for everyone involved to be able to say, this is my Tullahoma, this is my part of the world, and to be able to do that is what I would like to do.
Thank you, Ms. Darren.
Thank you, guys.
Ron Darden.
Mr. Mayor and members of the board, it's been a while since I've had the pleasure of speaking at the board meeting. My name is Ron Darden. I live at 603 12 Oaks Road in Tullahoma. And my wife Judy and I are natives of Tullahoma. My municipal experience includes a program coordinator for the city, a two-term alderman, and a city administrator for 5 years and 8 months. I was Public Works Director at Laverne, Tennessee, in charge of water, sewer, streets, and drainage. And I also served 5 years as City Manager of Red Bank, located in Hamilton County. They operated under a home rule charter as a manager-commission form of government. I also served 11 years as a municipal management consultant for the University of Tennessee, advising cities on management and other matters regarding the 346 cities in Tennessee. Now, I didn't advise them all, but I had certain territories assigned to me where I saw at least 100 of them over a period of those 11 years. My planning experience includes a member of the Tullahoma Regional Planning Commission, a member of the Transportation Planning Board for Metro Nashville area, and also a member of the Transportation Planning Board for Hamilton County and Chattanooga. I have support in Chattanooga and Hamilton County, participating in the 1101 Growth Committee, and I have provided administrative support to planning commissions over a period of years. I have assisted cities in facilitating and preparing strategic plans.
Thank you, Mr. Darden. I know you've got more that you'd like to say, but our time is limited, so we will continue to, we have your rest.
I'll wrap it up. I want the city to grow at a reasonable rate with adequate facilities and supporting infrastructure while preserving existing neighborhoods. And I believe those are all goals outlined in the current zoning ordinance of the city of Tullahoma.
Thank you.
And I know you have
again.
some good applicants, and I'll be willing to serve if appointed. Thank you very much.
Charles Dean.
Good evening, Charles Dean, 419 Albemarle Drive. I believe people in Tullahoma really care about the entire community and what happens here. I'm one of those people, and that's my number one reason for seeking an appointment to this new committee. Tullahoma has most of the services and amenities one needs for daily life. But like most communities, Tullahoma can always improve and should be looking to do so. Such improvements should take into account our quality of life, realistic economics, and future growth. This is why I was fully involved in the meeting and comment process of the Think Tullahoma 2040 plan. I believe proper review and consideration of the current comprehensive development plan and items in the 2040 plan, as well as the generation of new ideas, is a very achievable. This undertaking can provide a plan which is to the full benefit of all citizens of Tullahoma, and I would like to be part of the process. As to professional background, I was an insurance claims adjuster for over 36 years. A person or business only saw me when something had caused harm or damage to someone. So to be successful, I had to exercise patience and understanding. I also had to investigate and do research on complex matters, problem solve, and make discerning judgments regarding a multitude of issues. As to community involvement, I have held council positions in 2 churches, been president of 2 different homeowners associations, served as president of a high school band boosters organization, and was involved as a parent volunteer with the Boy Scouts. This new committee has a serious assignment, which requires patient and thorough judgment on matters important to the citizens of Tullahoma. I believe my background enables me to be effective and responsible in that assignment, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Greg Gressel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Alderman. My name is Greg Gressel at 316 Oak Park Drive, and I'm the Executive Director at South Jackson Performing Arts Center. My wife and I moved here 20 years ago this year. Because this was a move home for her, but I like the big city life, but we did not want to raise our kids in Nashville metro schools. So we moved here for quality of life. I don't truly know where to start with this evening, so I'm going to start by saying that I love Tullahoma. I am for Tullahoma. Not just one area of Tullahoma, but for the future of what our city can be and for maintaining the character in which she holds right now. People are moving here because they want what we have to offer. So we need to establish a way to grow and to maintain that character for the future of our city. I want a Tullahoma that my children would want to return to and raise their families. When we send our kids off to college, the goal is that we'll send them out, get them the best education possible, and then hopefully they'll bring that knowledge back with them. We have no housing options for them right now. And so there is a situation. We have nothing for them right now. We have many new people moving into the area, opening businesses in Tullahoma, but they can't find a place to live in Tullahoma, so we're losing them to the surrounding areas and the surrounding communities. I do believe that this committee should have representation from a lot of areas in the city, both physical dwelling area as well as areas that represent economic makeup of our city. This is not going to be easily accomplished with 7 individuals. I do, however, believe that I have the knowledge and ability to represent the city in a multifaceted manner. I offer the arts, which is desperately needs to be represented in the future of the city and has grown to be a major quality of life here in the city. I live on the west side of town. Add perspective there. I know and understand tourism and the effects financially of the city, and I have a degree in business and marketing, which would only add and enhance. I will say this.
What your time is.
Thank you.
Apologize.
I have a real interest in what's going to take place here in Tullahoma.
Thank you again. Mr. Jerry Honeke.
Thanks, sir. Board. It's great to see you all in person. Been watching you on TV for a while. I was born and raised in Michigan and grew up believing I was blessed to and grateful really to have been born in the greatest state, in the greatest country in the world. I joined the Air Force, 40 years went by, and it had all that confirmed. Great people, public servants, big hearts. And I remember Captain Miller in Saving Private Ryan, at the end of that movie, when the captain's been mortally wounded, and he's there shooting at a tank with a handgun. Ryan shows up, and Captain Miller grabs him by the uniform, and he says, "Earn this. This carnage of all this loss, it was for you." And he said, "Earn it." And I think I want to be a part of this because serving after 4 decades of Air Force service is in my blood. And I've watched us through the lens of the 2040 Committee for a year and a half. We, like Greg said, I mean, we searched for liberty in America starting about 5 years ago when I knew I was going to graduate from the Air Force and get out on my feet, hopefully. And when that happened, we found Tullahoma about 5 years ago, and 200 Settlers Trace is our address. We live here now and expect that this will be where we finish. And this group and the committee has a big task, but the series of opportunities I was given in the Air Force, you can see on the application, spell out conflict resolution, process improvement, win-win is what we go for. And we succeeded, so I think this is going to be another win-win.
Thank you very much.
Mayor, can I ask a real important question? Wolverines or Spartans?
I went to Central Michigan University.
So either. As long as you don't say Spartan.
Next, Mr. Victor Jordan. Victor Jordan.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman, my wife says I'm nuts for doing this. I've been away from it for 7 years, but let's give it a shot. I have a master's degree in geography from University of Memphis, concentrations in city and regional planning and in regional geography. I was an environmental or NEPA planner with TDOT in Nashville, with statewide responsibility on interstate projects and 22 counties in Region 2. In Florida, I was with West Florida Regional Planning Council in Pensacola, with planning responsibility as far east as Bay County, which is Panama City. Okaloosa Walton TPO at Fort Walton Beach, Florida Alabama TPO at Pensacola. Responsible for transportation planning programs, the TIPS, and project priorities. In Alabama, I was with ALDOT and retired from there in 2015, responsible for reviewing and approving all formal planning documents produced by 14 MPOs in the state. And that included TIPS, long-range plans, short-range plans, UPWPs, the budgets, and that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. Mark Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was asked by several people if I wouldn't consider coming to this committee. As a background, I have a bachelor's degree in science from Georgia Tech and an MBA from Georgia State in finance and development. I have served a lot of capacities around the community. If you know me, I've served 14 years as one of the county commissioners from Tullahoma. I worked out at AEDC for many years. I was awarded the Fellows Award out there for the service I did, particularly with changing some business taxes and changing some tax policy within the state of Tennessee, as well as some work I've done that I got some things changed at the Department of State level that opened up a lot of business opportunity for our community, the aerospace side in this region. I have served on the Tullahoma Planning Commission for 10 years. I chaired that for 6 years. I was the mayor's appointee to the county's revamping of its planning and long-term plan in our regional work. So I served with that, and part of that was to make sure that what we did in the county didn't interfere with the communities in the area. A big part of what I've done for the past 25 years is I was one of the founders of Horseplay, and if you all know that program in this community, we founded that. We funded it for years. We've kept it going. It's now a major program, and it serves this community well. I've served on the Kiwanis. I've served on the Air Force Association. I've been president and treasurers and secretaries of almost all those organizations. So I have a long history in this community. We moved here in 1983, and I've done a lot of service in the community over that time. And you have the rest of it in your resume there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Next will be James Massengill.
How you guys doing? James Massengill, Tullahoma, Tennessee, 419 Inglewood Drive. First, I just want to say, thank for all the applicants that's doing their thing right now. A lot of you guys are a part of other committees, and I definitely appreciate you for that. And so I'm a little different. We do things independently since we've been here. Moved back down here in 2020, just for the love that I've seen of the people that want to change here in this community. And I've talked with several people here in the community, and they ask me questions. Why do I seem to concentrate so much in a certain part of Tullahoma? And I said, well, that's where I'm from. That's where my family is from. I'm from the South and the West Side, and a lot of them have come to me with certain concerns about the city. And some of them were afraid to speak about those things, and I just want to be a voice for that. Second, I do have a degree in mass communications, stage performance. I love speaking. I love motivating people. I love the youth. It's nothing in the area of city planning, but I do have a love for it. I'm willing to learn, but I also have a platform, a great media source that I believe I can use my voice to get people involved. We do have the numbers. We do have the analytics. People do listen. One of the last reasons is, of course, there was a study session last week, and we did hear that, a certain alderman had, said that, there may not be certain people that can be on this committee because we may say things about certain aldermen or have a passion or a concern about something, and we just speak loud as just American citizens as our right to. We figured if they can do it, we can do the reciprocal, and it's only right because we vote, in all fairness. But I also would like to take on what this alderman told me a couple of years ago. He said, Royce, why don't you use your platform to do something good, do something for the community, do something for the youth? So I'm taking that opportunity now to do this here, and hopefully be a part of this committee and learn as much as I can and use my voice and my platform for the people that are not willing to speak, afraid to speak, or not able to speak. And that'll be all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Massengill. Jamie Moorhead.
I'm not speaking.
Thank you. We have one other applicant for this that was unable to be here tonight, and she asked that her bio be read into the record for the alderman here and for those that care to hear. I'm going to ask the city recorder to read the bio for Maureen Burke.
Maureen Burke, 107 Breckenridge Road. I am interested in the future of Tullahoma and would like to see good organic growth with the emphasis on quality over quantity. I would envision a collaboration of the citizens, local business, and city entities so that the vision for Tullahoma is a unified, comprehensive vision. Our whole community to preserve and accentuate what we already have, make Tullahoma a place people want to live and come by maintaining the warmth and friendliness that already exist. And special skills, I am a civil engineer, have been a public works director for a city almost the size of Tullahoma, which grew tremendously but maintained its small town feel.
And that's from Maureen Burke.
Yes.
Thank you all for putting in your citizen participation form. And a great group of candidates. Are there other citizens who would like to address the board tonight? Please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Thanks for your time. I'm Jessie Schwer. I live at 1913 Bel Air Drive. And since I have stated my address for the satisfaction of the board, it begs the question, am I not a citizen of our fair city? I live within the proverbial four walls of our city limits. I pay property taxes and am deeply involved in my community. By all strategic measures, the answer is yes. In fact, while I was not born here, I'm a proud second-generation citizen of this city I call home. Still, members of this board have uttered a common refrain as if it is a mantra. They have not spoken to any citizen who supports the 2040 plan. Perhaps this is because they have not responded to my communication regarding my unequivocal support of the plan, or that of my peers. I understand that it can be threatening to cognitive biases to open up echo chambers in order to establish healthy discourse between people with opposing views, but echo chambers are where good ideas go to die. It is unacceptable that it has fallen incumbent on me, a private citizen, to come here and do the work of an elected official and attempt to establish a clear line of communication via which consensus and compromise might be found. I would ask you if this fragmentation is what each of you want to be your legacy. But since we live in a culture which so fecklessly rewards, nay, celebrates, such nefarious behavior, this question becomes a moot point. Therefore, what I actually must ask is, when will you use your platforms for the good of all of the citizens of Tullahoma, rather than for yourself, your ego, vengeance, or for your friends? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens that would like to address the board?
I always drop my phone every time I get up here.
Scott
Van Belser, Fairways Boulevard. I'm here for the 1,800 plus people that contributed to the 2040 plan that haven't, felt like they gave their effort to producing this plan for the city in the first place. And we're all wondering why we're doing this again. Curious. Is there anybody that would like to engage on that?
We're not here to engage, but we would like to hear the rest of your comments.
You can engage though, right? It's an option?
It's not an option.
Mr. Glick, can you explain why we're doing this again?
I think the mayor said it's not an option for us to engage.
We do not. When we are getting citizens from comments, we're listening rather than engaging in a dialogue.
Okay. Well, there's almost 2,000 people that are wondering why we're doing this all again. When the plan was put together by the community for this community. So there is a whole bunch of people who are now being ignored or superseded by this now group of 7. We also had a paid professional organization. I think it was about $200,000 and spent over a year with, 6, 7 meetings plus an extra 4 once this activist group got involved. Is that just all going to go away and be handed to 7 people now? That's my big question for y'all. And that's, I guess, that's on the agenda too, sort of outlining the parameters of what this 7-member group is going to do. And I want to make sure that y'all take and maybe even have at the top of the list every recommendation of the 2040 plan, because otherwise you're ignoring over 2,000 people. That's all.
Thank you for your input. Are there any other citizens care to address the board? If not, we'll close the comments from citizens at this time. Moving right along into the agenda for tonight. First off, we will like to get the approval of the agenda, to get a motion to approve the agenda. Motion from Barry to approve the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I've changed the
Need a second
agenda.
to approve the agenda.
No. I have an amendment to the agenda.
The approval of the agenda dies for lack of a second.
Well, I have an amendment, and then we can vote on both. May I?
Amendment to the agenda?
Yes, sir.
What's your agenda? What's your amendment?
Well, so I guess it's twofold. The first thing that I should probably do just to make it flow a little bit better is to remove an item from the consent agenda. And that item would be number 4, only because I have something I would like to add to it and us vote on. So it's my understanding that I don't need a second to remove it. Any alderman can have an item removed from the consent agenda. So with that, I'd like to have that item removed, and my amendment would be basically 22-180, to announce a vacancy on the Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Aldermen and to consider applications from interested citizens to serve the remainder of the unexpired term ending in August 2024, and to set a special called meeting directly after the Planning Commission meeting on next Monday to choose that person to serve, and to also make sure that their rights to appoint a committee member are unencumbered by any decisions tonight. So essentially it's that, just elaborating forward with it. And I'd like a second, please.
I'll second that.
First, let's back up. We need a second to the agenda overall. We get that second, and then we make her motion, and then we second that, and then we vote on the amendment, and then we vote on the agenda. So can we back up and let's get a second on that?
It actually died, so.
If it died,
Died
then the
for lack of a
meeting's
second.
adjourned. If it
No,
died,
that's
then the
not
meeting's
true.
adjourned.
We can,
Yeah, that is true.
you wouldn't want to second
Nope.
something that you,
Yes, that.
I can't.
If it died, then the meeting's adjourned, so we'll just.
I'll second the original. I'll
There.
second.
Now, we've got that in the minutes. Now, get a second
I
on your
disagree with
amendment.
that. Okay, so I made the motion, and
Now, second.
I seconded the motion.
Now we vote on the amendment.
for discussion, actually, you're not really.
Okay, well, what are we voting on?
This would be her amendment to,
The amendment, it would basically remove it from the consent agenda and add it to, as an item onto the agenda, in which we would vote to announce the vacancy, set up a special called meeting, and make sure that that alderman, whoever he or she may be, their rights are unencumbered. They will get to choose when they come on the board their committee member. That's it.
so
Okay, I'm going to rule on that. And because we have a precedent, we have a vacancy on the board. And the process has been that we announce the vacancy and we accept nominations to serve in that capacity. We leave that normally open for till the next meeting. That would be, our next meeting would be in January. At that time, we'll have those candidates that want to apply for this, to come to this board. They'll make the pitch just like these candidates did tonight, and we will, and each alderman will have an opportunity to vote, to nominate someone to vote. That's the way my seat was filled. That's the way seats have always been filled, is to leave the vacancy open until we've had a chance to get applicants to apply.
Mr. Mayor, we have
So
a
I'm
problem with that.
I'll rule if that's out of order.
We have a problem with that by state law. We have to fill this seat within 30 days.
That's correct.
And our next meeting that we can take action on is more than 30 days away. So any way you want to do this, we have to have a special called meeting. You have a second, and you don't have the authority to overrule the second. I'm
Yes, I
sorry.
do. Yes, I
You do not.
By order of the chair, that is overruled, and you can get a 2/3 majority and overrule it.
A 2/3 majority of the board, which would be 4 people.
That's correct.
Okay, so let's get a 2/3 majority to overrule it. Call the question.
Question's called.
it's not called question, it's challenge the decision of the chair. Just so we have it in the minutes right. Challenge the decision of the chair.
Yes.
He'll call the question, call that, and then we'll vote.
I have a question. So if we're supposed to fill the vacancy within 30 days, and I guess since we changed the structure of the meetings, so that we just have one voting session, in essence, a month, I guess, then I'm just trying to get it straight in my head what we're discussing.
We don't have a meeting
Then
within the
we would
next
not
30 days.
Be
Right.
able to, by law, fill the vacancy within the allotted 30 days. That's what you're talking about.
Right. We have to set a special called meeting in order to follow the law, Mr. Chair.
The next board meeting's not until January 23rd.
And it would be after the 30 days.
We can have a special call meeting at the beginning of a study session, which we have on the 9th of January.
I don't think it's necessary to wait that long if this board is willing to proceed, and so I call the question.
Question's called. And the question is this: do we leave this open for citizens to participate, or do we shut them off with?
Question is to open.
The question is whether they're challenging the decision of the chair, would be the first question.
Correct.
Because the citizens would still have the time limit. I mean, they'd still have the time that they normally would have, correct?
So a yes, a green would overrule the chair, correct?
That's correct.
Green overrules the chair.
And it is the chair's rule has been overruled, and now we can move on with your motion.
Yes, sir. The motion, one more time, is, Rosemary, you got it?
So, put it back on the agenda.
Yes. Special called meeting.
Announce the opening.
Announce the opening, put it back on the agenda, announce the opening, announce a special called meeting to be conducted directly following next Monday night's Planning Commission meeting. The citizens' participation will open immediately for any citizen who would like to be considered, and the board will choose, and that alderman will get to choose their citizen selection after they are sworn on to the board. They're for the CPDC committee. I wanted to make sure that their rights to appoint their person was unencumbered, whoever they may be.
It's only one week for applicants to apply.
I second the motion.
So, discussion, you go first.
We have a motion. It's only 1 week to get citizens to apply, and I think that's much too short at this time of year.
Yes,
Try to get qualified candidates to apply for this seat.
Normally, I would agree, Mr. Mayor, but we have people here impassioned on both sides of the aisle tonight. I'll say that, and I believe that there are qualified people in this room right now who could serve on this committee. We could make a choice on this tonight if we even wanted to. Now, I don't think that would be fair, obviously, but I do think that given the heightened nature and the tasks that we are doing right now with the 2040 plan.
We're talking about appointing an alderman.
I understand.
An alderman, not
I understand.
that.
Except, actually, that's a part of my motion is to make sure that they also have the right to appoint this committee member. And since we don't want to delay business, and that's something that this board has taken ridicule on. And I believe that people are paying attention right now, and now is as good a time as any to go on and advertise that, get those citizens' participation forms, and us make the selection so that business does not have to be stipend. And if the board should think that we need a better selection, they could make that motion at the special called meeting.
Alderman Wilson, any comments? Mayor Pro Tem, any comments?
I just don't think that we need to be putting it off. I think we need to go ahead and do what needs to be done, get the aldermen. They're not going to be on here that long. So we need to go ahead and get it done and start with our business.
Alderman Glee.
I agree with Coach Mathis and Jenna. The 30 days from the time of resignation wouldn't make it January 5th. There's a lot of holidays and different things in between now and then. I think it's no time like the present to go ahead and fill it on Monday. get it over with, move on.
Alderman Berry?
Two things, I guess. Do we have time to announce that special called meeting by, so Wednesday would be the absolute soonest there could be public notice.
5 days. That's what you said at the last meeting.
I'll have to find out if it can be published in the Wednesday paper. Probably already
Monday's
missed
the
that
deadline.
but they may be able to get it in, or it'll be in the Sunday paper. Our municipal code advises that 7 days is for adequate notice, but special called meetings sometimes have exigent circumstances, so that's for this board to decide. Adequate notice would be 7 days. If you feel like this is more urgent, then a lesser notice could be done.
So second, we're talking about appointing an alderman who is going to serve and make decisions for the next close to 2 years. And we're saying, rush this decision. Don't give adequate notice to the citizenry. Don't give people the time to apply. We're always cramming and forcing things down, right? We're not stopping. Everything we do is crammed and forced. I get the 30 days, right? We don't need to, or not 30 days, the over 30 days. I get that. We don't need to debate that. We've got a meeting on the 1st. Nothing stops us from holding, or not the 1st, but we've got a meeting that second week in January. Nothing stops us from having our special called meeting. It's not quite 30 days, but it's a little bit more time. I don't get the, I mean, it's pointless to even discuss because we know how to end. But I do not understand this constant force, cramming things down. I don't.
Alderman, back to you if you've got any comment, any additional comment. Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, you may close.
We've taken a lot of ridicule
Don't use that. It's that. That is just.
Mayor, point of order.
Oh,
We're taking a lot of ridicule for putting things off and not getting business done and conducted like some people would like for us to. And that's why I believe that with the audience that we have tonight, with everything that's going on, the heightened scrutiny and everybody paying attention now, more than ever, people are wanting to be involved. And I believe that this is the right time to go ahead and just let's do this. We can reset the first of the year with a new board and a new start. And I think that will be great for this board and the city to move forward.
Mayor, I got to skip and get to make my last comment.
Yes, sorry.
The board hasn't been ridiculed for moving too slow. The board has been ridiculed for undoing things, for taking things that had been done, and instead of continuing to either work on those or find some common ground on those pieces, take all of that and throw it out to the side. This board has never been accused of working too slow. Everything we do is brought up the day of a meeting, slapped on the agenda, and then crammed down everybody's throat. Every single meeting, we have 2 to 3 items added to the agenda, and then we use the force of the 4 to cram it down people's throat, and we're doing it here. We're doing it again.
Call the question. Do you have what you want, where we're going to add the agenda, what we're going to add to the agenda,
Put it back
removing item 4.
from consent agenda. We've already taken care of that. What we're voting on now is to put it back on the agenda under new business, which is announcing an opening, then to set a special call meeting on December 17th, allowing the citizen participation applicants to participate in the comments from the citizens, and then allow them to appoint a person to the CPDC.
Okay.
So all components of that.
Green to approve that, red to disapprove that.
Just to clarify one thing, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. That person will have to follow the same rules that we have. They'll only be able to choose from the list that we have. But to make that clear, the alderman appointment is not coming from that list necessarily. Everybody will have an opportunity. I'm fine with all the way up until the meeting to submit a citizen's participation.
We agreed that we cut the applications off last Friday.
Yes, just wanted to clarify that for the public.
Mayor.
Yes, Alderman.
I just object to the inclusion of moving the item from consent to regular, because Alderman Almacher already pointed out that does not need to be voted on. It's a part of your rules already that if anyone objects to something on consent, it automatically gets moved to regular.
Well, I added to it, so that's the only reason we need to.
So it's your amendment of that item, but I think it just adds another layer of confusion to have 3 and 4 different actions in the one amendment.
We can't keep it on the consent agenda as is, so we have to remove it.
Right.
And then amend it.
Let's just can we clean it up, just remove that out of consent?
That's what we did.
That goes to discussion, period. We just vote that down and then add that separate item.
No, removing it from consent doesn't have to be voted on.
Right.
As soon as she said, I object to it being on consent, it's automatically moved to regular, to the bottom of the regular agenda.
That consent item's done. This will clean up your minutes. Remove that item. This is added as a completely different.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, so her motion is just amending the language in the item.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. We added it.
What we're doing is taking the consent item 22-180 and moving that under new business.
And amendment.
With an amendment. Yes.
To set the, for the next meeting.
Yes, that is correct.
I just don't want to set a precedent that now you're voting on removing things from consent. That's how I want to be clear.
That does not have to be voted on?
Can be removed.
The removal of the consent agenda item doesn't, but this does with the amendment.
Because of the amendment.
Because of the amendment.
And we're voting only.
To set the meeting. We got to vote on setting the meeting.
We're only adding it to the new business portion of the agenda at this point.
Yeah. We'll have to vote on it again when we get to new business. Yes, all right. Yeah. We ready? Vote.
Passes 5-1. Okay, let me get down under new
There's
business.
another agenda item on the consent agenda I'd like to have removed and put on new business. That's item number 1, approval of the minutes.
Okay. We'll remove item 1, approval of the minutes. We'll put that under new business as well. Okay. With the agenda as amended, I'd like to get a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I will.
Got a motion? Need a
Second.
And a second. Any discussion? Green for yes and red for no. It's approved 6-0. Okay, at this time, we'll go to our reports from Alderman. And Alderman Almacher, we'll start with you tonight.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and hope to be the best version of myself for you guys come the new year.
Thank you, Alderman Berry.
Thank you, Mayor. Couple reminders. This Saturday is the Wreaths Across America ceremony. Oakwood and Maplewood will be at 11 o'clock. I believe, Greg, you'll be at Maplewood with the Girl Scout troop. The Evergreen, will be at 1 o'clock. we had to change that time. I'll be stepping in to help with Cernovia. So anybody who wants to help or volunteer with that, let's just please reach out and let me know kind of immediately. I need to go out and mark some stones before Saturday. There's also, and I didn't know this was back there, back in the industrial park area, back where the we have all the military vehicles. There's a cemetery back there. I think it's called Citizen Cemetery, and it actually has some local graves, and I also believe some POW, German POW graves back there. The issue with that one is all the tombstones were made of wood, so they no longer exist, but they will be in the afternoon hanging wreaths at the entrance of that cemetery. Claude Morris has done an incredible job. I think there's a bunch of people involved in this, and it's a very, if you haven't been to one of these, it's a very humbling experience to do that. That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Glick.
I attended a joint meeting of the Tree Board, the Tullahoma Community Pride, and the Downtown Committee to talk about beautification efforts in Tullahoma, trying to get together and make a unified effort into beautifying the city and adding to the tree canopy. And it was a very good meeting. That was last Wednesday. This Wednesday, I have a meeting of the Sports Council. That's all.
Very good. Alderman Mathis.
No report tonight.
No report. Alderman Wilson.
I'd like to remind everyone that the Tullahoma Fine Arts Center, they have their annual Christmas market currently going on. So if you haven't gotten a chance to get over there, there's a lot of really local artisan stuff over there, really nice selection. The hours for that until the 17th, Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 5 p.m. And then on the 20th through the 22nd, it's going to be 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. for that. And then the Arts Council right now currently are still working on the Arts and Economic Prosperity Study. So just like to also remind everybody that the little barcodes that you get whenever you attend an event, we just ask for everybody to fill out those studies and get those back in. I would also like to recognize that the South Jackson Performing Arts Center has been nominated for 27 Broadway Regional Awards for theater. So great job, guys, on that. That's fantastic. And South Jackson also has a Broadway artist who will be doing a tribute to Andrew Lloyd Webber, and that will take place on Saturday, December 17th at 7 p.m. And just that the South Jackson had just finished up they actually extended their trees of Christmas over the weekend because they had a great response to that. And there were awards given for the different trees. I'd like to just recognize those quickly. The People's Choice Award was the Traders Bank. Best Theme Award, Nearest Green Distillery. And the Most Creative Award went to the Painted House. And also, I'd like to let everybody know that coming up is the South Jackson worked very hard on this for the past year, getting It's a Wonderful Life. It's going to be played with their new projector, and it's going to be on the big screen over there on Tuesday, December 20th at 7 p.m. So they'll have popcorn, get there and get your popcorn and drinks, and that should be an amazing event.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson. For myself, I attended a couple of ribbon cuttings in town this past week, Taylor's Leatherware and the Penny Pinchers. Also attended a meeting for the police chaplains and the South Central Human Resources Agency had their Christmas party over in Henry Horton Park. I attended that. And the South Central Development District had their in Mount Pleasant last week, so I attended that. Also attended the TML district meeting on Zoom, which was great as well. So that's my activities for the last week. Also, I need to announce that there has been a vacancy on the Planning Commission due to the resignation of Greg Sandlin, and I have announced, or am announcing, the appointment of Marvin Sellers to serve the remainder of Greg's term. So we'll have that new member on the Planning Commission. So at this time, we have a visiting city attorney. Do we have any report from our visiting city attorney?
Mayor, it's my understanding that Mr. Worsham gave a detailed plan last week, or at the last meeting, so I do not have a report from the city at this time.
Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight.
I'm glad to be here.
Too bad that Mr. Worsham couldn't join us. And a report from our city administrator.
I do. Mine is a little bit longer, but I'll try to be quick this evening. First, wanted to say Merry Christmas, remind everyone the Tullahoma Chamber is doing their 12 days of shopping local, and so you have a few more days to turn in your receipts before the 15th, and they're doing daily drawings for $100. I attended the fall conference of Tennessee City Managers Association, and just wanted to share with you that during our conference I was elected to the board of directors. This will be my first time serving on the board of directors for my professional association, so I'm excited to be able to serve in that way. Also wanted to share with you our economic development director, Winston Brooks. He's been invited to serve on the Tennessee College of Applied Technology Shelbyville Institutional Advisory Committee, and he is going to attend their first biannual meeting on December 9th. So actually he did that last Friday. And then our IT manager, David Jernigan, he has been invited to serve on a state committee as well. It's on cybersecurity grant planning, where the state has federal cybersecurity grant funding that they are looking for experts in that field to help them with projects and prioritizing how those grant funds are going to be spent. So he'll be getting some great experience there. And then I want to update you on a couple of projects. One is the tennis license agreement with AEDC. I've been making excellent progress with a woman named Shannon Allen, who's a fairly new supervisor. She has really helped focus in on what our questions were and is working on a new draft I just received by email today. So I do think next meeting you'll be able to review that draft and we can move forward with an agreement and keep the tennis courts for the next 5 years. I am working on the Parks Director recruitment. We should be posting that job this week, probably tomorrow, and we'll be working with MTAS Hana Rogers, who you know is our management consultant, and John Grubbs, who is the human resource consultant, and they'll be assisting reviewing applicants, both internal and external, and putting together an interview panel for us that we hope final interviews will take place February 1st and 2nd. And then I need to share with you, we had an emergency repair. We had a water leak in the pump room for Splash Island. We realized that it resulted in damage to a heater in that room and then some of the power supplies that control the pumps. And so all of those items have been ordered and are unfortunately have a 12-week lead time, but they'll be installed by Lawson Electric. The total cost of these replacements is $26,145. All costs are covered by our insurance, and our only expenses are $1,000 deductible. So I wanted to share that with you. And then last, this past week, I participated with the mayor in a TML district meeting and learned about one of the things, there were several things discussed, but one of the things I wanted to give you a heads up on is there are some new regulations that are coming out of the state comptroller's office that may add a little bit of expense to our annual audit, but the positive of that is that there's going to be an online portal now, a statewide portal where citizens can look up financial data on all the municipalities. there's already, my understanding is, a portal like this for counties. And so that a little bit of extra money on our audit is to help make what they're calling a crosswalk, where the auditors take our financial data and put it into a uniform system that can be uploaded. So thank you, that's my report tonight.
I think it's great news on the progress on the tennis courts. Okay, with that, we'll move into the unfinished business. The agenda tonight. We got to approve the consent agenda as modified. Motion to approve the consent agenda as modified. Got a motion to approve and second. All in favor say green, red for no. Consent agenda as modified is approved. We're moving to item number 1 and item number 4. Moving into the unfinished business now. This is a second reading. It's an ordinance. I'll have to read the caption on the ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Tullahoma set forth in the Tullahoma Municipal Code, which is ordinance number 1392, to rezone approximately 5.47 acres, parcel located on North Jackson Street and on North Jackson and, well, it's in here somewhere, Flowertown Road. But anyway, that's for approval on second reading, and that's details of that are on page 58 if you need those. I need a second. Need a motion? Got a motion? Need a second.
So moved.
Got a second. Any questions? There's no question. We'll go ahead and green for yes and red for no. That passes on second read, 6-0. And moving on to new business. These are things that, all of these things were things that we reviewed in our study session a week ago. And the item number 22-181 is consider approval of a compensation offer of $9,330 for permanent drainage easement, a temporary construction easement requested by the Tennessee Department of Transportation on Wilson Avenue. Need a motion. Motion from Barry, seconded by Glick. Any questions? Vote green for yes and red for no. That passes 6-0. Item number 22-183 is to consider approval of bid awards to Kathy Dameron in the amount of $1 for unimproved 25-foot right-of-way on 409 East Deckard Street.
You skipped ahead one.
Number 8.
I skipped one. Let's go ahead. This is another TDOT. I tried to combine them. Okay. It's another, consider approval of compensation offer of $850 for temporary construction easement. And this is over on the Wilson Avenue widening project. Need a motion. Barry, seconded by Jerry Mathis. We'll agree for yes and red for no. That passes 6-0. Now we move down to 22-183. Consider the approval of bids of Kathy Dameron in the amount of $1 on improved 25-foot right-of-way in front of 409 East Deckard Street, and Jeremy Dameron in the amount of $1 for the unimproved right-of-way on 415 East Deckard Street, and to authorize the city attorney to prepare all necessary documents to support the sale of the city-owned property. Those details are on page 81 of your packet. I'm going to refer to the city administrator for comments on this. First, let me get a motion in a second. Got a motion from Barry, a second from Mathis. I'll refer to the city administrator for comments.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. So, as you know, this item, the city has authorized surplusing excess right-of-way along this portion of East Deckard. It was publicly advertised for bids. Of the 5 properties that would be affected, only 2 properties were bid on. So if we were to approve it, it would be inconsistent with our policy of only allowing full blocks to be surplused. So what I've asked tonight is that the board consider a postponement, and we've already, our planning director and the city attorney and I've already met and discussed that we could reach out to all 5 affected property owners and ensure that their reluctance to bid maybe wasn't intended to communicate that they would be unwilling to accept the property, if they are willing, we can move forward with preparing deeds for all 5 and go ahead and surplus the entire block like we intended. So if you just give us a little more time, that's what we would like to ask for.
I'll entertain a motion to postpone. Got a motion from Barry, second. Second from Hamaka. And the motion to postpone, we'll vote on green to postpone and red to not postpone. 6-0, postpone. Moving on to number 22-184, consider the approval of instructions for a newly created Community Plan Development Committee, and it's an advisory committee to the development of the city's comprehensive plan. Details of that are on page 89, and at this point, this is to consider instructions. So get a motion on the floor.
Move to approve.
Got a motion from Barry, second from Alderman. On discussion, Barry, you can go ahead, you made the motion, you can introduce.
I won't go through them all, but Alderman Glick gave us all a list of recommendations, and I'd recommend that we adopt those. I think some things that we should consider as well are, we haven't defined any length of service, so I guess the length would just be until you decide the committee is no longer needed, or that would be something that I would say we need to look at, is do we have an annual item on the agenda, or do we, because technically by charter, I don't know who or how long these people are going to serve. So I think that that's something that we probably need to consider, and they may want to know, because they may not want to do it for the next 20 years. I think also maybe consider how those vacancies are. If somebody does decide, hey, this is more time commitment than I have, how do we fill that vacancy? Technically, it's currently by the mayor would fill that vacancy, but the consensus that I've gathered from the board is maybe we want to consider changing that for this committee. So that was something that I think maybe the board should consider and look at. That may be an ordinance route or something like that, but I think that that's probably a consideration there. I think that's all that I've got right now.
Glick, you probably got some comments that you'd like to make in regard to this approval of instructions. I think this is where we are, is kind of putting some meat on the bones of this committee.
Right, and that's kind of what I provided, and it was intended, I didn't think that it would be all the answers and completely comprehensive, but I tried to answer all the questions that were provided in the MTAS document and answer them and give instructions to the committee based on that. As far as a time frame, Alderman Berry, I was thinking that possibly in the original document that we voted on, I had that after the committee met, they would discuss and arrive at a time frame, a schedule for us. That would give them a chance to get together as a committee, evaluate the work before them, and then present to us as a board their estimate on how long it would take. And another one of their tasks would be to provide us regular reports, quarterly, I believe, that would keep us abreast of how they are doing, what they're doing, and how they're coming along with their schedule. So I think that would kind of answer those questions. Other than that, that's about all I'd have to say.
Okay. Go around the room for any questions about the committee.
I think in the establishment of it and the way that we're doing it, it would be reasonable to assume, I guess assume is a bad word whenever we're doing stuff like this, but that if it's your pick, for lack of a better term, and that person is unable to serve, that you that alderman, or that seat, whoever's sitting in this seat, or in Bobby's seat, or in Alderman, Dunn's prior seat, they would choose their replacement until this committee until we either dispose of this or continue it by ordinance. And I think that was spelled out with the fact that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen shall choose the 7 members, and we discussed that at the prior meeting, that we would choose that. So if for some reason Bobby chose somebody tonight, for instance, and next week they just decided that it was just too much, that they, after they met, let's say, or after their first meeting, they met and said, the time that it's going to require, I'm just unable to fulfill the obligation, and I thank you, then I think it would be appropriate for Bobby to get to, choose a replacement. And I don't think we have to change any of the wording to do that. I think it's already set out in the wording, and I agree that I think allowing that board to establish the parameters and for them to discuss, okay, here's the timeline, and here's what we're willing to give to this, and here's how often we can meet. I don't think that we need to micromanage them, other than broadly giving them access to the things that they need to be successful. And I heard this comment earlier, and I really want to address it. I think that there's been a big misconception that we're trying to redo what happened with 2040. I think it's just the opposite of that. I think that what we're trying to do is make sure that everything that did happen with 2040 was heard, and that it's not just the ones up here making those decisions, that it is, my apologies, that it is, we're giving that power back to the people, in essence. I don't want it to be us making those decisions. I want it to be a group of citizens who have the authority to, to create subcommittees, and that can, do the work that needs to be done and have the authority to do so. So I think that, Mr. Glick, you've done a fantastic job with this, and I want to thank you for your efforts, and I look forward to seeing this group get together and do some work.
Alderman Wilson, comments? None? No comments? Good. So, that's not demeaning. No. No comments. Any comments? Any further comments, Alderman Berry?
No, I think that we still need to, I do think that we need to consider, maybe we do that in a study session. In our last study session, I know that we had passed a motion saying how we would do it, but the attorney said, hey, you can't do it the way that you wrote it in here. So I think that we should go ahead and continue with this, because we're going to do it, but let's step back too and go ahead and refine, either do the ordinance and just do it and get that off everybody's back. Don't just make assumptions, because we may not all be here, right, to pick our appointment. And then who does that fall on? And, it just opens up a bunch of different questions and kind of more arguments and those pieces. So let's just do it. Let's just do it right, and let's get it done. Let's establish those. I think that we should probably give them, hey, by this date, we want a mission statement. We want kind of a broad scope. We want a chairman selected. These are some, I think it's, some benchmarks, and not to put pressure on them for things, but also so that we're not just saying, here you go, right? And just kind of leaving that wide open, and them kind of wondering, well, what are we supposed to do, right? So just give kind of a little, and I know it is laid out in there, but also just some kind of those things. Those are things that I think that we should consider.
Let me interrupt. We have one of our staff has got a comment they'd like to make. Please use your mic.
Yes, if I might, I'd just like to point out, if we're at a point of adopting the parameters in the creation of the community plan, under operations, where it says about expenditures, if I might, if you could modify that, either to delete that sentence, to not have expenditures even mentioned, because that would normally fall under staff, under whatever department assistance you have, or if you could modify that to change it to, if instead of non-routine, to any expenditures would fall under the purchasing policy. Either way would be appropriate.
Would it behoove us to, would it behoove us to say, hey, let's go ahead and continue with the creating, but at the next study session, have staff give us a draft of using the comments that we've gotten, taking these kind of two and kind of merging that and the comments that we've all given tonight, and just kind of give us a short draft of.
Yes, Ms. Wilson?
Alderman Glick has made an amendment clarifying that and explaining, expounding on the expenditures, saying that they would be requested through staff liaison and that they would comply with the purchasing policy. So what he has in here already addresses that, if you add his amendments.
All right.
Yeah, that's all this.
Very good. Okay, what I'm hearing is that we're going to go ahead with the committee. We're going to let the committee put its rules together and come back to us. We're not going to sit here tonight and establish these rules. This committee is going to establish its own rules that they live by.
Using this.
With this parameters, yeah.
And with Robert's Rules of Order, they should establish a chairman, and, I mean, the majority of these folks that spoke tonight, I feel pretty confident have served on plenty of committees and know how to do that. I have no doubt that they'll do a fantastic job.
Well, let's just go ahead and call a question on 184 to consider approval of instructions. And the instructions generally comport with what's on this document. Green for yes and red for no. That passes 6-0. Now then, consider nominations for mayoral appointments of members of the Community Development Plan. Mr. Berry?
Motion.
You got a motion? Need a second?
I'll second.
You got a second from my marker. And you made the motion. You know what the plan? Tell us about what's on the amendment. What's on the motion?
So I think that we got a 13 citizens that represent, I think, a broad spectrum of backgrounds. And together on the whole, or a good representation of the city. What I would ask is that we, since we have 13 people who are willing to serve, that we as a board collectively nominate all 13, change the rule from 7 to 13. That's still within the parameters of a good 7, 9, 13 are your board quality sizes. So I think it's kind of a tough. I think they each bring something quality to the committee itself. And so I would make a motion that we change from 7 to 13 and just adopt the entire slate of people who, out of the 20,000 people who said, hey, I'll put my neck out and do this.
We have a motion.
I'll second just for the sake of discussion. I'll give you some leeway.
Okay. Start this discussion, Alderman Berry. You've already introduced it pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've got a great slate of people here. And I think that there may be some on there that some of us may take issue with, but you know, that's okay. I think Royce actually made a good comment that we speak our opinion. They should be able to speak theirs as well. And I think combined, there's some people that I would hate to see not make it. And I think you'd be surprised by some of the people that, and they'd be surprised for me to say I'd hate to see them not make it on there, because I think that everybody on this list can bring something to the table. And I think that that's what we're looking for. And if we had 13 people who said, I'm willing to do this, then let's kind of give that, let's run with it. That's my argument.
So we have if you look at the makeup of the county commissioners and the fact that they had to reduce their number, I think that when you get too many people, you get a little chaos. We have 7 here, and it's at times chaotic. So I don't want to create chaos where there isn't any. But here's what I will say: I'm still a big proponent of keeping it at 7. However, I have great respect for what Mr. Massengale said, and I think that there is no reason why the other people on this that are not chosen, that this committee can't create subcommittees to incorporate, for instance, the PR perspective, being able to bring that voice in. And that is, I think that was my view of this from the get-go, was you create 7 and they are going to start creating, okay, so who do we need for arts in downtown? Who do we need for this? Who's the expert in this? Who do we need to talk to for this? Who can be our PR guy? Who can help us over here? Who's on the south side? And they can start creating, you know, olive branches. I want to see as many citizens involved, really involved, not just filling out a piece of paper and saying, here's what I recommend, and sending it to a Walker Collaborative group who took our money and, I'm sorry. But, and no, we're not really seeing the fruits of what everybody wanted or what they didn't want. These are your neighbors, and they're not located in Franklin, Tennessee. You're going to see them. You're going to see them at Walmart. And I highly expect that even if you are not chosen, that this committee will listen to each and every citizen that they come into contact with, even if they disagree. And if you bring me your thoughts, if you bring one of us your thoughts, I hope that we will also be as diligent in, you know, conveying your message to those individuals. I'd like to keep it at 7, with that said.
Alderman Wilson, any comment? Since it comes around this way, I'll make my comment. I'll agree with Alderman Almacher. We've got 7 on this board. And I don't know if I'd want to be chair if we had 13. So I think for productivity, keeping the, well, I would like to see any one of the people sitting in this audience tonight on this board. I think choosing 7 is a better approach. Alderman?
I agree with you. If we were to increase this at all, I think that instead of going 13, which is too many, then it becomes very, very tangled. And you have trouble getting along and all of this, and then you have committees and subcommittees trying to interact with each other, and that's not going to happen. I would go 9 instead of 7 if I was going to change it. If not, then I'd leave it 7.
Alderman Clear.
I also agree with leaving it at 7, although these are, I'm really pleased that the 13 great candidates that we had that applied for this, it's all great people. And in the operations of the CPDC, it says the CPDC may appoint subcommittees and enlist expert advice or schedule special meetings to receive public comment. So hopefully, it would be my will if the members that were appointed would reach out to the other people that have expressed interest and use their advice to move forward as well.
Okay, Alderman Berry has made a motion, and the motion was to increase the number from 7 to 13, and we have gone around. I believe we've got everyone's. Is there any other comment anyone care to make on that?
Mr. Mayor, I know it's out of order, but there's actually 14 on that list. There's 13 printed, and then you read a resume.
No, it's 13.
She's on the list.
She's on the list. 13. Call the question. This is to increase the number from 7 to 13, is what we're doing now. Red for no, green for yes. And there's 6 no's. We'll just keep it at 7. Okay. Okay, with that, At this point, we'll consider nominations for mayoral appointments to the Planning Committee. And with that, we've heard from all the candidates tonight. And the way I would propose doing this is we each go around and we each nominate one. And if someone nominates the one that you might choose, I ask you bring 2 or 3 nominees that you've thought about ahead of time. So with that, Mr. Glick, I'm going to do the honors and let you start. We'll go around.
Okay, I'd like to nominate Victor Jordan.
Okay, let me get a scorecard here so we can keep up with the nominees. Victor Jordan, you've got a job. Ms. Allmacher.
This is really tough. I'm going to choose somebody that is hopefully going to represent a softer side of me. That's probably the opposite of me, personality-wise, but that I've learned a lot from. Mr. Charles Dean, if you would accept my nomination.
I didn't understand.
Mr. Charles Dean.
Charles Dean.
Mm-hmm.
And still we'll stay on this side of the room with Mr. Barry.
Mayor, can I hold off? 'Cause I'm going to make my decision based off of geographical locations and qualifications. So I'd like to see where we land geographically before I nominate.
I'd like to see where we land too.
Can't everybody pass? Alderman Wilson.
I'd first like to thank every person that submitted their participation form. I know that it's not an easy task, to find extra time in your schedules to do, committees and things of that nature, and I appreciate everyone wanting to serve their community. I would like to nominate Elizabeth Bowling if she'll accept my nomination.
Ms. Bowling, you've got a job. Mr. Perry, it's back to you.
Mayor, I'm going to nominate Jamie Moorhead.
Say again?
I'm going to nominate Jamie Moorhead.
Jamie Moorhead, okay. And back to our Mayor Pro Tem.
Nancy Cheney. Nancy Cheney.
And has nominated Nancy Cheney. And guess who's left? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess it's left to me. I'll nominate Ron Darden. Darden, you willing to serve, I'm assuming? Very good. We have 7 candidates. And with that...
No, 6.
One reserve.
Excuse me. But with that, we have 6. And
Can you clarify, did Ms. Moorhead, do you accept?
Okay, so...
Ms. Moorhead, you never spoke tonight, so we don't know if you're still a candidate.
Right, can I step up real quick?
Please come to the podium.
Okay, so, initially, yes, I would like to, but Daniel, if you're going to be completely honest, I want to put in for the alderman position that's available, and I think that if I take this, then I kind of obsolete being able to put in for that this week as well. So, can you give me like 5 minutes? Really? Please?
My question would be, would that prevent from applying for the alderman? And if she did get the alderman, she could withdraw from this committee, and I would just choose
Reappoint somebody else.
I'll reappoint somebody else.
We could do that? Okay, so then I accept, yeah, of course.
Do it, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you. And then Ms. Cheney,
I
did you
couldn't
also
understand what she
accept?
said.
Yes. Okay,
What?
thank you.
She's willing to accept. Okay. Thank you for being willing to serve. So yes, now we do have 6.
Now you have 6 confirmed.
And Alderman Glick, at some point, you're going to have to get this committee together.
Okay.
So it says a member of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen will be assigned to the board liaison. I think we already kind of assumed, but Mr. Mayor, would you like to make that official?
I'd like to make that official and say, get your committee together. At the work. Yeah, thank you for being willing to do that and tackle this chore that's it's not going to be easy to get it done, but if it was easy, you probably wouldn't have sent us to do it.
Okay.
So thank you for doing it.
Okay.
Okay, so we now have a committee. And next on the agenda, item number 22-186 is to consider approval of video recording study sessions for the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. Need a motion. Motion from Barry. Got a second. Wilson second. And I'll defer for comments to our city administrator regarding what this means dollar-wise and whether we can get it done.
Yes, I did confirm with our Tullahoma Utilities Authority that these study sessions could be shown live. That's what they would intend to do, and the cost per meeting is $60, which really wouldn't be an increase. We were meeting twice a month previously, and so it would just go back to meeting twice, showing 2 recordings a month again.
Okay. Alderman Berry, is your motion?
Good.
It was your motion. You care to, any comments on it?
No comment.
Amaker?
No comment.
No comment. Wilson? Any comment? I have no comment. Any comment? No comment? Vote green for yes and red for no. Six to 0. Passes. We will notify TUA that they've got another job. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is something we went over and tried to go over in some detail that time ran out last study session. This voting software, it's meeting management hardware and software. You got that in your packet at the study session. I hope you've had an opportunity to review it. And if I could get a motion on the floor. Alderman Berry has got a motion. Need a second. Got it from Wilson. And at this time, I'd like to defer to our city recorder. She went to a session with the county commission where they use this software and talk to us about the quotes that we've got for doing it, plus the amenities that this would bring to our meeting. Alderman Golden, not Alderman, but city recorder.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
When you go over this item, I know in the agenda packet it only mentioned like one choice, but I think there was more than one choice available in the information that was provided us. I wonder if you could kind of go over the difference between those two.
Sure.
Thank you.
So when I went to Coffee County, I met with the IT support person, Cindy Reagan, and I spent about an hour and a half with them. And she said that originally, about 8 years ago, the county used the software that was provided by Roll Call, and then Roll Call was bought out by a company called Open Meetings. And that's the quote that we have right now in front of us is from Open Meetings. They absolutely love it there. So that's the background for how it initially started. And then we sat in on a Zoom video, which included Jordan Wilkins, myself, and the mayor. And I think Jennifer was in and out of the Zoom meeting. And I think it would help us tremendously. They actually have printouts from the software, what the motion actually is, and the voting. It also has a printout of who's in attendance. A wonderful feature of this item is speakers get to be queued. If they have a comment to make, they press a button and ask to be recognized. So it's a queue, 1, 2, 3rd, whoever has a comment to speak. Coffee County loved it. They are using this software. Now, the two different quotes that were given at the study session, and they call it a standard quote, and that was for $9,750 for the software and then the support. And then the second quote was which is in the agenda today, same company, but it's called a Pro version. In my understanding of the Pro version, the only difference is that the software automatically mutes everyone's mic, and only the chair, the mayor, would have the authority to open your mic, which is set to the queuing of who wants to speak. But that brings it up to $18,500. And then, of course, there's a discount if after the first, or it's written in here that 5-year contract with a 10% discount if it is paid up front. I spoke to the gentleman who gave me the quote, which, by the way, is good for 90 days. Both are good for 90 days. And they said they'll allow us to have the system for a year. Then after a year, they will extend that contract, a renewal for 5 years at the 10% discount. So we kind of get our feet wet with the software and how it works. I think I covered everything.
The only additional comments I would make is just to say I have reviewed the budget to look at funding, and I think our recommendation is based on this being the first time that we've worked with this vendor or had this technology. I think we feel like we've done enough research that we believe it does everything that you will be happy with and that you want, but it may be best to go with a 1-year contract, make sure that we like what we bought and that we don't want to explore other options before we lock in that 5-year agreement. Also, from a budgeting perspective, we'll know going into next year's budget to budget for the 5-year term. And then we'll also need to buy just small tablets that'll be at the dais and stay at your seat. And so we have funds available to do that as well.
And I'm sorry, it will take 2 weeks to install the software if our IT person and persons are able to work with the software
Yes, we'll have
company,
to coordinate, obviously, with Tullahoma Utilities and make sure that we're not interfering with their recording equipment. But as soon as we can get it scheduled, it shouldn't take more than a couple of weeks to install. So that's good news.
And I'll add one other thing, the tablets you mentioned, I recall them saying were about $150 each.
Correct.
Is the cost of the hardware that they'd have to install for each desk. Alderman Amacher.
I don't even know if this would be possible, but it would be really cool. If we somehow, if this software was capable of not just conducting our meetings, but potentially planning commission or other board meetings, is there a way to perhaps program it to where we aren't the only group that has access?
That's my understanding, that we can add that on for a fairly low cost. Very low. Want to add it to planning commission.
I think that's a great idea to go ahead and do that and give everybody the same access that we have.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Including the CPDC.
Floor in a second.
I'd like to amend the motion.
And your amendment?
Would be to go with the standard version instead of the pro version.
Yeah, this amendment, a second on the amendment. Okay. Sure. Why don't you tell us why we'd like to make that amendment?
I just thought the difference in price, it's an awful lot to pay for the ability to mute the mics. I mean, if people are, they should mute themselves.
We don't have control over, so that was something I was going to say in the original motion, is I went to Gondola last week to pick up dinner for our monthly Mason meeting, and I ran into Randy Brewer and sat down and chatted with him about it, and he had some questions, and I don't know if he has talked with you yet. So like they'll need, like with the mic meeting stuff, that's all controlled, I believe, right now by TUA. There's some considerations that they'll need to have on what they're pointing the screen at and some things like that. So he had some questions and wanted to make sure that this could work within their system. So that would be my only thing, is we should probably talk to TUA to make sure that this will work with that. I'm sure they'll figure something out, but those are considerations that we need to think of.
Were there other things with the as I would call, recording of votes was one of the things that you did with that pro version?
Standard.
That's from standard. Okay. So the only thing that the pro version does is have, first off, only one mic would be live at a time.
Yes.
Is that
Yes,
correct?
that's my understanding. Yes, sir.
Okay. Sometimes we've needed that.
Yeah.
Okay. We have an amendment to the motion that's on the floor. Amendment is to consider the standard version as opposed to the Pro V. So, any other discussion?
Who seconded that? Sorry. Thank you. I looked away.
Who made the motion?
Blake made the motion and Barry seconded.
Okay, very good.
Would we also have to have an amendment to?
Separate. Yep.
Okay. I didn't know if that was already included in the price that we have.
To make it available for Planning Commission is not included yet.
Okay, all right, we'll make it.
I think it might be $1,200 a year.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
For each group, or $9,600 for unlimited. So we'd have to decide how many we want.
We could walk into it.
It
It should be boards that meet in this room.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we have the amendment to go with the standard version as opposed to the Pro V. And it's my considered opinion, after watching the two versions that were presented on the Zoom. First, you got a link to their board meetings, and I was very impressed with the versions that they were using, and that's why I would recommend the Pro V. So anyway, we have a motion to further going with the standard version.
Before we do that, on the open meeting, the Pro, it's AV. So this may be something, again, that we want to talk to TUA, because it's the above plus integration with our control cameras and the mic. We could say we don't want the microphone control, but also the digital signal processor. So those are things that may be required for TUA to do. So maybe we amend the motion to, amend your amendment to, if TUA doesn't need that stuff, we do the standard.
I'll agree to that. Yeah, I agree to that.
Let's just make sure they don't need it before we mix it.
Where we don't have to come back here again.
Yeah. So I think that would be, his amendment.
Yeah.
Would be.
To go with my amendment would be to go with the standard version unless TUA would require the Pro V version for the video integration. And if they don't require it, then stick with the standard. And you second mine.
Yeah, I still second.
To go with the standard version unless TUA requires the Pro AD.
Yep.
Otherwise,
Stick with standard. yeah.
Okay, we've got a amendment. We're voting on the amendment now to go with only the AV at the standard instead of the Pro V. And that passes 5-1. Okay. Go to the standard version unless TUA requires, and it'll be a fairly cheap thing to do to move up to that, I think.
Right.
So I'm Barry.
I'd like to make a motion to amend to include, there's planning commission that meets in this room. Is that it?
I have an idea. What if you, this is just a suggestion, allow them, the other committees to adopt it into their budget? So if
To
they're,
include at least the planning commission.
well, yeah,
Wow.
but any other boards outside of the planning commission?
They still have to come to us.
Yeah, but they could adopt it, and then if they, something they want, they could bring it back to us.
So I would amend to approve the that'd be correct, subgroup for the planning, whatever amount that is for the planning commission to start. I don't know that we need, just if they come to us and recommend, then we can just bring it up.
Or they may have the funds in their own budgets to want to add it.
I don't think that needs approval from us. though.
May not, but at least make it available.
And if anybody else has the budget, no.
We could start out with the planning commission.
Let's start with
and then-
planning commission
And then if
and as
anyone
we
else
need.
wants to come,
Yeah.
they can come individually.
Yeah.
They can
Let's-
come and ask.
To amend it in that for a minimum, for the additional $1,200 setup and annual license for the planning commission. So that'd be an extra $2,400. One time, $1,200 a year.
Well, I'm glad you agree with that amendment to your amendment. Okay, the motion is to go with the standard version unless required.
Well, that's.
No,
we
already voted.
We already voted on that. So this would just be amending the.
Adding planning commission.
This is just adding planning commission, $1,200. Okay.
I think I need Mathis. We're going to add planning commission for 1,200.
Green for yes, red for no. And it passes 6-0.
Now we go back to,
I have one final question.
And we go back to the original motion, as amended.
Motion is amended. I had read, I think maybe it was in the summary, that it's possible ARPA funds could be used to pay for this. Is that the case? If we ever get it going?
I'm sure that it could be. My only request would be that we don't, well, I guess my preference would be that we spend the rescue plan money on as few large projects as possible for reporting and compliance, rather than lots of small projects that we can accommodate through our annual budget. So I've already identified funding.
So we're good in the
Yes.
budget then? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll vote for the amendment to add the rider for the planning commission. Green for yes and red for no.
wait,
We voted for
we
that.
voted on
done
that,
that.
so it's
Vote on the motion.
motion as amended by the two amendments. Original motion.
Go to green for yes and red for no.
The original motion.
Original motion as amended.
As amended.
As amended by the two. Okay, thank you. Yep.
Passes 6-0.
Okay.
This time we'll take up items from the consent agenda that have been moved to the new business. First off, we'll just take take them in order. The item number 22-177, the minutes of the meeting on November the 14th. Motion to approve?
Move to approve for discussion's sake.
We got a motion and a second.
I wanted this brought up to the regular agenda because there was items in these minutes that I thought we discussed during the study session that we didn't think were proper to be in the minutes. And that is on page 52, 53 of the agenda packet, and there are all the time-stamped comments made during the meeting, comments from Mr. Worsham. And I thought we'd already discussed it during the planning or the study session, that wasn't proper to have in the minutes, but, so that's why I wanted it brought up to discussion. I didn't think it was proper and that those things should be stricken from the minutes.
Barry?
I guess a legitimate question is, do we all understand what, and I don't mean this in a negatively, what the minutes are?
Yes.
The minutes are a recording of what happened in that meeting. The only things that we're required to have will be the motion and the outcome of the vote. But anything else that happened in that meeting, anything, I could request to have I used to do it. I had my board reports added to the minutes instead of giving them. So try and speed things up. If this didn't happen in the meeting, then I would absolutely say, yeah, strike it. But it happened during the meeting. So what we're saying is, I mean, you can't just strike it from record. I mean, I don't think it's even worth arguing over because it happened, it's on video. So if we want to strike it from the minutes, then strike it from the minutes, but it's on video.
It's more just a procedural thing is what I was going at.
We'll come around.
So the one thing that we don't want to turn this into is poor Rosemary having to become a transcriptionist and a court reporter overnight. And it's hard to create context. We do have the video, and therefore I think that we should make sure that we keep the commentary on the minutes light so that it doesn't seem like you are trying to bolster a decision or pick and choose this. I mean, there was a guy in this audience earlier tonight who literally posted a video of me from one meeting and then a video from me from another meeting, and I said this thing and that thing, and they put it together and it made it look like I said something completely different. And that is what we don't want our minutes to turn into. And so I believe that we've set a precedent. You know, whatever the vote was, who voted what way, and boom, done. Rosemary is not paid enough to have to transcribe for us. And I do think it's inappropriate to add the attorney's comments in any reflection. They're not board members, and he's not a citizen. He is literally there just giving us advice, and we act upon that. The only thing that matters is our vote at the end of the day. So I would be opposed, and I will vote against the minutes, or I will make a motion to retract that from the minutes. I do not think it is appropriate unless there is a good call shown, and I don't see the good calls here.
Colonel Wilson. Excuse me, let me.
No, you can
go ahead, Ms. Wilson.
I agree, Alderman Berry, and I'm all for transparency. 100%, you know, that's why I voted for us to televise our study sessions. But I guess what I disagree with is when we've had a standard of doing the minutes in a certain way, I have an issue, I guess, of, you know, introducing something that we normally wouldn't when we have a history of doing the minutes like we've always done. So while I'm all for transparency, If we could have everything typed up, that would be great. I think that's a lot to ask of Rosemary. I agree with that as well. We have a standard of how things have done with the minutes, and to do it differently, I just have to question that.
City Administrator's comment.
Mayor, I just wanted to respond to Alderman Glick's comments about study session and clarify that at study session, when we're reviewing the agenda items, I cannot take direction from you at that time. So this was the appropriate way to have it brought up and voted on. Okay.
Understand.
Thank you.
Okay, and one of the reasons that I felt that the comments from the city attorney were very pertinent to the subject at hand. And his comments that he made that night were very relevant to me as to what the committee was going to be. So that's when I wanted to get his comments included in the minutes. The minutes are kept forever. Our recordings that we do, that we keep the video recordings of, will not be kept forever, but the minutes will. Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm along with you as far as some of his input. I appreciate it very much. And for us to change that, I'm not for changing it.
Alderman Glick.
I appreciate Mr. Worsham's things. My main problem with it, if you call it that, was not of what was said or what was in the record. I think the record is there. I just didn't like the fact that this is, we normally keep the minutes one way for everything else, then all of a sudden we have this one anomaly where we have all this other information in there and comments from Mr. Worsham and stuff. I too liked his comments. I thought they were very good. I just didn't think it was appropriate to have them listed in the minutes because it is not normally listed in the minutes.
Alderman Berry, anything else?
Yeah. Let me do some math here. So I've got, 40, 50 meetings under my belt. And on numerous occasions, I have asked for things to be put into the minutes, as have other aldermen who have sat in these seats. And I do not mean this disrespectfully, but when we're talking about what we've traditionally done, you're going off of 6 meetings. And so I do understand that maybe in these 6 meetings, that may not have happened, but traditionally, it has happened. Any one of you, if there's something that you want clarified in the minutes, then you have the right, you should just have it, unless it's just made up and it didn't happen, you should have the right to say, hey, I want this specified in the minutes because I want it there in that permanent record. You should have that right, I should have that right, he should have that right, you should have that. And there will come a time when you're sitting in this seat and you want something added to the minutes. It will happen over the next 4 years. When you vote no to that tonight, you can't do that for the next 4 years, right? So over the next 4 years and the next 50 meetings that you've got, if you vote no tonight, then you lose the right to add something to the meeting because of the precedent that you've set here and the arguments that you've made here tonight. And so that would be my only thing is, it happened, he didn't make it up. If he wanted to put it in there, if you want to add clarifying comments in there, I don't think it took Mary, or I'm sorry.
I don't have any problem with the comments.
Yeah, I don't think it took Rosemary any extra time. I'm assuming you or somebody typed them up and handed them to her. So, and I do agree we don't want to transcribe the entire meeting, but there will come a time where you want to add something to those meeting minutes for record. And you're going to have it on video here that you said it's inappropriate to do so.
Well, 4th Monday, I believe July 2022, then Daniel, I guess I should have asked for your comments to me to be added to the minutes when you called me a effing idiot. There's a reason why we don't put everything in the minutes. And I'm not.
Object, Mayor. That happened post-meeting, and I didn't call her an effing idiot. I called her an idiot.
Oh, you're both out of order.
Hang on.
You're both out of order.
So my point is, I'm sorry, Mayor, making a point here. My point is, Mr. Worsham also did not agree to have his comments published. He is not a board member. He is here to give us advice. In fact, when we put this in front of him the other day, he was like, oh, my comments shouldn't be in the minutes. You know, that's not really appropriate. He said that in the study session. So number one, while I agree that what happens in we need to keep it short and sweet, what he said is not have anything to do with what we voted on. He could say, well, I interpret it, you know, the sky is green today, and that's what you're voting on. It didn't mean that what we were voting on was the sky was green. Honestly, it is advice that he has given us, and it's great to have that, but I think all it does is create fog in what would otherwise be clear. And so I have actually opposed previously for certain board members to change their votes for things to be added. I don't think it's appropriate, and I will stand by that. Let's keep it to the minimum, what the vote was, who voted what way, and then if somebody wants details, they can go back and watch the video.
Can I ask a question?
Come around.
Oh, do I come again?
Yeah, Alderman Wilson.
I mean, for the most part, I know that I haven't sat in the seat for as long as you have, Alderman Berry, but for the most part, the minutes are heavily redacted. So I'm not sure what I think about the ability of each one of us saying, hey, Rosemary, can you put this in here, you know, verbatim? When we each start interjecting what bits and pieces of what we want in something, I think, you know, then it becomes questionable, you know, of what the intent is when we start doing that. I haven't done that. I've relied on Rosemary to do her job, and I think that she's done a great job.
I will say that, again, the comments that were made by the attorney were relevant to the subject that we were discussing. There's a reason they were included. So today, you have the right, Alderman Berry, we have added things to the agenda, to the minutes at an alderman's request and a number of times. And I'd hate to lose that ability. So, Alderman Mathis.
Nothing else?
I only have just one question from the city recorder. She's a professional city recorder, and just for my education is, what is the proper way to keep the minutes? What is recognized in City Recorders Association or whatever as being the proper way to keep the minutes? Would it be the way that, just which way?
In our seminars, we're told 3 precious words. A discussion ensued. And you're not supposed to give the details. The details are in the motion. Who made the motion, who seconded it, and then directly what the motion stated and what they voted on. Otherwise, it would take, it's almost like dictation, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Transcription, sorry.
Yep.
But to have
Okay. No, that's all I needed.
But my follow-up would be, that is what you're told to record, right? Now, what is the practice when a member of your board hands you something and says, I'd like to add these, what happened to the minute?
So I was the one that typed it up and listened to it word for word and took it. But my understanding would be just to vote on it, to add it to the minutes.
The board would have to vote.
Which is what we're doing. What I would ask is...
Shouldn't have to vote to take it out.
Is what?
My gut tells me that we're going to vote on the minutes, and it's going to fail because it's in here. what I don't want to do is fail our minutes. So what?
Move to amend.
I hate doing this, but I hate seeing our minutes not pass. So I would make an amendment to remove that piece so that we can pass these, so that we can pass the minutes.
Second.
If that's the only reason.
What are you removing?
That sheet, that, and I hate doing it, but I don't want to watch our minutes fail, because I think that that's what will end up happening. What happens if minutes fail?
So you're saying just remove page 53?
All those extra comments, other than a discussion ensued, I suppose.
The sheet that was handed to us of the,
I think it's ridiculous, and I think that no one on this board better ever ask to have anything added to the minutes. For your length of your term, better not happen.
Page 53.
Any further discussion? We've got what we're doing is modifying the minutes to remove what's on page 53 of the minutes. That's the motion. Simply modifying the minutes. Well, green for yes and to modify, and red for to keep the minutes as with the city attorney's comments in them.
Okay. I hope everyone voted. I just cleared the board, so if you could vote again.
Vote again.
okay, say that again, we're voting.
To remove page 53 from the
So yes to remove.
Or not to remove page 53, not to remove page 53.
Tonight or I'll remove it.
Green to remove, red to not remove.
Green to remove the extra comments. Red to not remove.
To remove it passes 4-2. With the minutes modified, let's vote on item number 22-177, approve the minutes as amended. Previous motion.
Wait. 5-2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4-2, sorry. 4-2, and then we're voting now, sorry, guys.
Item 22-177.
As amended.
Just voting on the minutes.
Yeah. All right, one more time, guys, sorry.
That's why we voted for that new system.
I know. There we go.
Passes 6-0. The next thing on the agenda is item number 22-180. Announce a vacancy on the Board of Mayor and Aldermen and consider application for interested citizens to serve the remainder of the unexpired term, August 2024. Get a motion. Motion for Barry, second from Allmark.
Well, again, this should be the amended motion.
No, we're going down to 22-180, announcing the vacancy on the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
Wait. No. So that item got removed from consent agenda, so this item should be the amendment to the agenda that she made.
And the amended version.
This should be the amended version of that.
Because we voted on it.
Well, we've still got another item.
Well,
to
you
amend.
have to, you removed the item from consent to discuss.
We did.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing. You can't just remove an item from the consent agenda, period. You remove it for discussion purposes, so we could just second this, vote it down, and then go to your amended motion.
We approved item number 22.
Consent agenda.
So we already voted on
On
the amendment.
amending
because
this
you
consent
said
agenda
that-
item.
We did vote, right? Yeah.
Yes.
We
Because
voted
you
on
said
the
you didn't
amendment
have
of
to
this
vote
already.
to take it off the consent agenda, you only had to vote to amend it, and we voted to amend it. So
We should only have to have one vote, and that's on the amended,
on the
because I
amended
removed it and amended it.
That's what we did for item 22-177. We modified the minutes, and we approved the minutes as amended.
No,
We approved item 22-177 as amended, those minutes.
yeah, that's not what we're talking about, Mayor. We're talking about this new item that I amended. We removed it from the consent agenda, and then I amended it as we added it back into new business, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
22-180, that's what's on the floor right now.
As amended.
But as amended, the motion on the floor is as amended to add the special called study session and allow the new aldermen and.
Would you read the motion as amended?
Yes, so the item we're voting on now is 22-180, and it is to announce the opening, to set a special call meeting on Monday, December 17th, to allow citizen participation, the applicants to speak at the, comments from the citizens, and then to allow that person who's appointed to appoint a person
To the CPDC.
CPDC.
The only thing I would add is just to clarify, the meeting will be held directly following the Planning Commission's adjournment.
Since we
So I hope
always.
everybody comes to the Planning Commission meeting. I believe that meeting starts at 4:30, correct me if I'm wrong.
We have a motion and a second.
Item number 22-180.
Motion by Barry, a second by Amacher.
Any discussion? Discussion, Barry? Discussion, Wilson?
Yeah, I definitely have discussion on this. And we had this discussion, again, I don't understand what we're doing here, why we're given, 3 days public notice at most? 3 days at most, public notice to fill a vacancy on the Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
This is a public meeting. We're giving public notice now.
Yeah, but not everybody's watching this meeting right now. TUA can tell us how many people have tuned in here. I don't get why we are rushing this here. We're not in a hurry. We don't have another meeting until January. The fourth Monday in fourth Monday in January. We can have a special called meeting before our study session that gives people almost a month.
That's also after the 30 days.
No, it's not. The study session is not after the 30 days.
Still have to set
Yes, it
special
is.
session.
2 days.
The 5th of January.
So then we hold a special called on the Friday prior and give them 30 days. And give them so we give them 30 days. We have that ability, right? I don't get why we're rushing this. What is the hurry here? That's my biggest.
You're talking about study session on December 2nd.
If we need to do it, no, January.
January 2nd.
Yeah, but if we need to do one, 30 days would be January 12th. So if we need to do a special called meeting on January 11th, then do a special call meeting on January 11th. We get them seated, we get them in there for the special called session. We've given the community almost 30 days to get applicants in there.
It's per the vacancy.
Alderman Walker, you're recognized.
It's per the vacancy, Daniel, so we would only have until January 5th, which means unless, I'm going to be out of town, number one, but unless y'all want to be meeting, over your holiday break, we have to do it next week. And so I prefer, since our deadline would be January 5th, that would be 30 days, because it was as the time that the vacancy arose, because when she resigned, it was effective immediately, which means we then had 30 days, it's my understanding, by statute. So that would be, correct me if I'm wrong, that would be approximately January 5th. I do not want to be meeting over the week of Christmas or over the week of January 1st, and I believe that I'm going to give our citizens a whole lot more credit. There's more paying attention right now than you know. And if we do not feel like we have a valid pool of applicants, and I know we will, we've got people sitting in this audience tonight. I know we're going to apply. They've already said so. So there's no reason to delay. Let's start the new year off on a fresh foot. Let's get this thing behind us and let's move forward.
Alderman Wilson, comment?
Yeah, I mean, my concern obviously is the 30-day, legal thing that we have. And I mean, Alderman Dunn announced her seat vacant immediately. That was Monday. I know that I've had people contact me about, interest in it, and I don't know what, so.
Well, certainly, our precedent has been to allow, when we have a vacancy, to allow 30 days to fill that vacancy, so we collect the best pool of candidates that we possibly can. So that's what my position will be, is that we allow 30 days before we have a special call meeting. Alderman Mathis.
May I speak out of turn and ask a simple question?
We're passing this now.
I'm sorry, we
Holidays, not count towards that? That's
I'm sorry.
typically how these things work.
Sir, we're not engaged in comments at this time. It's a board session. Alderman Mathis.
Is it a rule, definite rule, that you have to allow 30 days before you fill it? That you have to, or is it just a recommendation, 30 days, or it can go longer?
It cannot go longer. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen will fill the vacancy within 30 days.
So
Mayor,
it's at all,
Mayor, I just passed out the copy of the city charter, and it's in Section 5, Terms of Office Vacancies. And you can see on page 7, it's the second page, kind of highlighted the section for you. It says that it starts out, in the event of a vacancy by reason of death, resignation, or removal of the mayor or any one or more of the aldermen, the board shall have the power to fill the vacancy by majority vote of said board of mayor and aldermen. Said vacancies to be filled until the expiration of the term of office so vacated. Any appointment required in this section shall be made by majority vote of the board of mayor and aldermen within 1 month of any vacancy. So it does not state 30 days, but obviously it's implied 30 days because it's a month. And so the letter of resignation was delivered on December 7th. The proposed date of December 19th for the special called meeting would give 12 days from the 7th. If you had it the date of your study session, which I just had thought that might be something you wanted to do, that's 33 days. If you calculated it from today, which is your first date that you've been able to announce the vacancy, December 19th is only 7 days from today. Just January 9th would be 28 days from today. And I just suggest that because we already have a meeting scheduled. So as far as your availability and as far as notice to the citizens, we would just add a special called meeting immediately prior to your study session. You would open it at 5:30, take care of that piece of business and move on.
That seems to be the most systematic way of doing it and consistent with what we've done in the past. And certainly we'll all be there for the study session.
And then it sounds like, just to clarify, whatever date the board ends up setting the special called meeting on, do I understand you want all of those individuals who applied to be invited to attend on January 23rd, your regular meeting, to speak under public comments, like we did tonight? Is that correct?
January 23rd, that's why it's too far out, yeah.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No.
Clarify that.
So if we did, they would be invited to speak next week.
At the special call.
At the special called
Okay.
meeting. And
So that
like
might
they
be
did
another
tonight.
reason to delay it a little bit, to give them more time, because from tonight is only 7 days.
Well, from the
to get in touch
vacancy
with people.
Is not, like you said, the vacancy was on the 7th.
It was in the newspaper.
Jerry was done.
Did you get your questions answered, Alderman Mathis?
We have to do it within a month.
We have to do what?
We have to do it within a month.
Has to be done within a month.
I guess I got it answered then, if that's the way it is, but I would think that we need, the first meeting that she missed is tonight. I think we need to go 30 days from tonight.
Well, if
That's the way I see it. 30 days from tonight, this is the first missed meeting, and this is when it was announced here. And it wasn't announced before, but it was announced here that she has gone. And that's when I think it should start counting, is from tonight.
I agree that we need to give the community
That gives the community much time.
the respect, opportunity to put their applications in. We need to hear from them.
Jerry, you know that we'll put off the CPDC, I mean, they won't be able to, I mean,
Nope, they can go ahead and start with 6 people.
we need to get it done before Christmas, I think.
Alderman Glegg?
I think we should get it done before the holidays.
Start fresh.
I 100% do not think that
I think we need to, I think we did, Alderman Wisdom is sitting beside me,
Yeah.
and I respect the Mayor Pro Tem's
Can I say
comments.
something?
And the thing that's, excuse me, just a moment, what's on the floor is the motion to do it after the planning commission meeting next Monday,
Yes.
which is pretty quick. So Alderman Wilson, we'll recognize you.
Unfortunately, Alderman Dunn, didn't wait to announce it tonight. It was effective immediately, which was Monday night.
December 7th.
And then it was placed into the paper Tuesday morning, right? So that it was effective immediately.
Our paper comes out on Wednesdays and Sundays.
6 and
It
7.
was online.
It was online, it
Yeah.
came out immediately.
Okay, the motion that we have is the motion that we have is to have a special call meeting to seat a new alderman for a year and 8 months at the next planning commission meeting. You have something else, Alderman Allmark?
Yes. December 6th is the effective date of resignation. If we follow our charter by the date of resignation, that means we should have a meeting before January 6th. I don't want to meet over the holidays, and either way, this requires a special called meeting. Let's go ahead and get it done before the holidays. Everybody can enjoy it, and they can start preparing those 2 weeks. It's the best thing for the city of Tullahoma.
I think the best thing for the city of Tullahoma is to give as many people the opportunity to put their names in, to serve as we possibly can, and I certainly don't mind. I don't take the full week after the first of January for vacation. I think everybody will be ready to come back and have a special call meeting the first week of January.
So to clarify, what we're going to vote on right now is Green to vote on an alderman this coming Monday, is what the motion. So Green would say yes, vote
Meet
this.
a week in a week, yes.
So Green is yes, vote this Monday, red is no, and then we'll fall back.
Which was essentially 2 weeks' notice because she resigned last week.
Alderman Berry, you're recognized. Continue.
I'm just clarifying. Green is to say, yes, we want to vote on it, seat a new alderman this coming Monday. Red is to not seat an alderman this coming Monday.
And
Correct.
my comment that new alderman would not even be.
Yeah, because they got to swear in, but we're saying appoint a new alderman. Let me rephrase. We're saying Green would be to appoint somebody Monday. Red would be no, not to appoint them Monday.
That's the motion.
2 weeks from the time she resigned, yes.
Yes. Green for yes, and red for not voting on Monday. The motion fails at the time. Alderman Berry.
So we're back to the original, no, we don't even have an original motion now because we amended.
We need a motion for, consider the approval of a one-year agreement excuse me.
That's why you remove it and then you amend it after. Because now we don't have now we got to add an item to the agenda.
Well, no. We're back on item number 22-185.
Nope, that failed. Because she amended it from the consent agenda versus moving it to discussion and amending it there. Now we don't have a motion on the
Yeah.
floor at all to announce a
Well, all
vacancy.
I can tell you is we're going to follow the city charter, so I'm going to be advertising a special called meeting on January 9th. Whether-
January 9th is past
That's
the 30
past
days.
the 30 days.
It has to be before the 6th, or I'm not in agreement with that. That's against our charter.
Can we instruct her to do
And that's what
January
I'll do.
6th?
Then I'll do it
Good with
within
that?
30 days from December 6th, but I will schedule a special called meeting.
And that'll be the first
We
week.
don't need a vote
And that'll be the
to
first
follow
week.
the charter.
First week of January.
Which is a Thursday instead of a Friday.
So that the vacancy.
We don't know when we're meeting.
So the vacancy has been announced, and we will solicit people to serve as an alderman, and they'll serve for 1 year and 8 months. Term they'll be serving for.
I think we need to specify what date that's going to be.
January 6th.
You have to take
January
poll
6th.
who's available.
No, it has to be before January 6th. That's what she just said. She would be scheduling
It
it
has to
before
be
January
It has to
6th.
be 1 month. 1 month.
Yeah, 1 month.
It says within a month.
Yeah, so it would have to be before January 6th.
Beyond January the 6th. That's 1 month.
How does Tuesday, January 3rd sound?
What day of the week?
Tuesday.
Well, I guess my vacation's getting cut short.
Well, tell me, do you want Wednesday the 4th? Thursday the 5th?
I have church on Wednesdays, but I will make it.
I just noticed we're closed on the 2nd.
Hey.
City Hall's closed.
Turn it on there.
Jerry, what day works for you, honey?
Honey, let me tell you. I don't care.
Well, we should have done it Monday.
Let's get it up. No, I do care that. I think the citizens need
time's
more
church,
time
Daniel?
than for us to just
6:30.
this quick.
5:30, you'll be
Well, let's
done.
do it anyway.
It's one item.
So
If they're indecisive, I'll decide January 6th works.
No.
I'm good for Tuesday.
Because if something happens and we can't have a meeting, then we violated our charter. So I think that's
Tuesday the 3rd or Wednesday the 4th?
Tuesday the 3rd.
Are you figuring 30 days?
Yes, sir.
Say it.
Bobby, you said Tuesday?
Yes, sir.
I'm good with
What about
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Tuesday the 3rd.
I'm good with Tuesday. He's good with Tuesday.
That's a month.
We're all good with Tuesday the 3rd.
Tuesday the 3rd.
Tuesday the 3rd.
You got it.
5:30.
At 5:30.
Motion to adjourn.
We got beer.
let's get a motion to set this date.
We don't need one. It's just by charter.
We don't, we're going to follow the
We're going to
charter.
follow our charter and do it within 1 month. That's what the
Yes.
charter says.
And I've got you on video.
And we'll advertise
We hope.
appropriately. With that, no, I have not wished every one of you a Merry Christmas. And I certainly will do that.
And citizens.
And to each of you,
Happy New Year.
serving as alderman, sometimes it's not easy, but we get the job done. So thank you for your service, and with that, with no further business, we will be adjourned.
We have beer board.
We are the city, the planning committee.
Y'all don't want to stay for the beer board?
We're going to the beer board.
Hang on.
Okay, the beer board is now in session. Any public comments from the beer board? Being done, consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Need a second? Second. Got 2 seconds. And all in favor of the consent agenda, green for yes and red for no.
Jenna.
What? Vote on the beer board. Green, vote green. Yes. Say it, voting on the beer board consent agenda. What about it? Vote for green for yes and red for no.
I was like, I'm going to try to.
Approved, passed 7-0. There's no other unfinished business, and no new business. With that, there's no further business, we'll be adjourned.
Ay, ay, ay.
Kelly, how are you?